It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Dick Morris, one of the smartest politicos I know. And Dick, how do you see all these things?
Well, I think that the election is deadlocked, as the Republicans and Democrats both agree. But I believe that Trump has a significant advantage baked into the numbers. And based on that, I believe Trump is going to win if he lives. That's the only question in my mind. But in the polling, they're more or less even. Trump people we think we're 3 ahead, and they think they're equivalently a point or 2 ahead. We're right and they're wrong, I think. We're surveying battleground states, and they're not. And I think that the momentum of events is clearly in Trump's favor. Harris does not know how to propose an issue and use it to get votes. Trump does. And his package of tax cuts for working Americans, for tips against tips, and tax-free overtime and tax-free Social Security benefits, I think that program is going to win tremendous support. So I expect Trump to win, and I expect him to assume the lead gradually in the polling. But each week, I think he's going to move up a point or 2 until the lead is decisive. But it still could change, but so far it looks pretty damn good.
Dick, you're one smart guy. I really believe it may be a foreign government after to kill him, too, because it'll make a big difference in how the world is. They'd rather have somebody like President Biden or Vice President Harris that practically they do whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Well,
which foreign government you has the courage to go after a presidential candidate?
Well, Iran does, and they've threatened to, and I think it's very possible that they are behind these attempts. I have to tell you that this is not verifiable, nor is it out there as factual, but it's worth speculating about. Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin of John Kennedy, was heavily involved with a foreign front group called Fair Play for Cuba, and there was a pro-Cuban group. And Ryan Roche, the would-be assassin of Trump, is working heavily with Ukrainians, and indeed tried to join the Ukrainian army, was rejected, but spent 6 months in the Ukraine.
And Trump would put Trump, if he got elected, would put an end to that war. But it looks like the Ukraine would lose all that land because Russia is not going to give it back.
Well, Russia currently has 15% of the territory Russia has conquered was Ukrainian. So they would have to lose some of that. But the point is that these are both people who are in the sway of foreign groups that want to use the presidency to impact their cause. And I think that the similarity there is too great. And there also is a story that I read, I think in the New York Times, that Roche, the would-be assassin, worked for the CIA, as did Lee Harvey Oswald. So I think those are the leads worth following up. And the media
almost all those agents are sometimes double agents because sometimes the CIA puts them on the payroll thinking that they'll find out some information.
Yeah. Well, that's always possible. But I think that the idea that there are 2 assassination attempts against Trump, and your idea, John, that's completely true, that there are a lot of foreign governments led by Iran that would definitely want to see Trump dead, I think is grounds for suspicion and investigation. And I hope all Americans do that.
Florida. Did you hear what Florida's doing? Florida doesn't trust the federal government to do an investigation on the possible assassination of President Trump. So they opened up their own investigation.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that continues. We'll talk about that further as this evolves.
Yeah, Dick, I'm curious how you brought up right away. You said if he stays alive, it's so concerning, but it's a realistic thing as we have seen these 2 assassination attempts. And it infuriates me to see sort of the discounting of it by Kamala and others. It's like, oh yeah, today, like in a discussion, oh yeah, there was that assassination attempt. Now let's go back to whatever. But how concerned are you, for someone that we all know here in the room?
I am very concerned. I will tell you that I believe that it is a greater risk to Trump's presidency than his losing the election. I think that the greater risk to his presidency is that he'll be killed, not that he'll lose.
Wow. Just based on what we have seen and the threats.
And based on what we know about the election.
I agreed with Dick Morse.
Wow. That is a really powerful statement. Wow, wow, wow. Judge Weinberg.
And Dick, it's Richard Weinberg. Let me say this. What troubles me more than anything is if, God forbid, they're successful, what's going to happen to this country? What kind of division and hostility and violence is going to be engendered in this country if, God forbid, Trump is assassinated?
I think it'll be torn apart. And as there is evidence of a possible involvement by the CIA and by others, and certainly by international actors, this guy tried to enlist in the Ukrainian army and offered, I think, $3,600 to any American who would enlist in the Ukrainian army. All of that really suggests foreign involvement, and the failure of the Secret Service to protect Trump is obvious. And I think that could lead to a gigantic change in American life, possibly even violent civil war. I'm very concerned about that. But let me say this. I'm not a criminal investigator. I'm not an assassination expert, but I am a political expert. And I'm telling you that Donald Trump is en route to winning this election, and the only thing that I think can stop him is a bullet.
Wow.
Well, they tried. They tried to prosecute him. They impeached him. They did everything they can. The only thing left is to take him out, and that scares me. That scares me that in this country, with democracy, this is where we're going.
It sure does. I have one other thing to say. Donald Trump is not entirely blameless in this, and I spoke to him earlier today, and I told him, what business does he have golfing in a public course, in an open course, where anyone can shoot at him in the middle of this election? I told him the whole fate of the world depends on his staying alive, and that he should not appear in public. He should ration his exposure and be very careful about it. Only appear in front of bulletproof screens and not let himself be caught out in the open like he was in both of these assassination attempts.
Excellent.
That's not paranoia. It's protecting America.
I agree. It's two very, very different views. Yep, absolutely. Well, Dick, thank you so much. We love having you on. Very powerful discussion.
Thank you, Dick Morris.
Thank you, Dick.
I'm sending my brother money directly to his bank account in India because he's apparently too busy practicing his karaoke to go pick up cash. Thankfully, I can still send money his way.
Direct to my bank account.
Yes, I know I'm sending to your bank account. Western Union. Send it their way. Send money in-store directly to their bank account in India. Services offered by Western Union Financial Services, Inc., NMLS number 906983, or Western Union International Services, LLC, NMLS number 906985, licensed as money transmitters by the New York State Department of Financial Services. See terms for details.